My name is Stephen Shaji. My topic for the assignment of healthcare law is the case Dr. Lakshman Balakrishnan Joshi versus Dr. Trambak Babu Godbole, a Supreme Court case of 1969. Now, the facts of the case are as follows. Anandu, the son of the first respondent, suffered from a fracture in his leg in an accident in 1953 6 May. And as a part of preliminary treatment, a doctor actually tried to immobilize his leg using small wood pieces. That was the only preliminary medication given to him. And afterwards, after 2 days, he was actually taken to a district hospital, from which he was taken to the Appellant's hospital. Now, in this Appellant's hospital, after examination, the Appellant instructed the assistant doctor to give this patient 1/8 grain of morphia and 1/200th grain of hyoscine at an hour's interval, but the assistant doctor only gave him 1/8 grain of morphia. Afterwards, he was taken for X-ray, and later he was taken to the operation theatre. And the operation went for a period of 1 hour. And afterwards, this appellant doctor gave assurance to the respondent. The respondent was also a doctor. Firstly, this first respondent was also a doctor practicing in Pune. That is the father of the patient Ananda. So the appellant gave reassurance to this respondent doctor that his son would be out of this morphia effect within an hour. So on this reassurance, this first respondent actually left the hospital at 6 p.m. And afterwards, the second respondent found the patient to be suffering from cough and breathing difficulty. By which, on this information, the appellant doctor quickly came and tried to give the patient emergency treatment, but unfortunately the patient died at a time of 9 p.m. And on the death certificate, the appellant doctor mentioned the reason for death as fat embolism. Now, this fat embolism is an effect by which fat gets collected in blood vessels and blocks the flow of blood. Now, this is the basic facts of the case. Now, the issues there are two issues. Firstly, whether the death of the disease was caused by medical negligence from the appellant's side, and secondly, whether the appellant doctor had actually given him preliminary medication. Now, the provisions of law are, firstly, the Fatal Accidents Act of 1855. Now, this act was formulated to provide compensation to families that have suffered a loss by death due to actionable wrong. And secondly, this case also deals with medical negligence. Now, medical negligence is misconduct by a medical practitioner that causes a breach of duty and also causes loss to the patient. Now, coming to the arguments, a point to mention is that this case is actually an appeal by special leave from a judgment of a Bombay High Court. And now, this Bombay High Court and the trial court had actually found the appellant doctor to be liable for negligence and wrongful act. Now, coming to the arguments, the respondent argues that firstly, this appellant doctor had not provided him preliminary examination, and without providing preliminary examination, he was given a dose of morphine and was taken for X-ray and operation. And secondly, the respondent claims that the appellant doctor has not gone through the proper procedure of operation or placing the leg in the plaster. So the respondent claims that the appellant had used brute force with the help of 3 men while doing this and without general anesthesia. So the respondent states that this is never done without general anesthesia. And the third point, the respondent claims that the appellant did not follow the proper procedure. That is the second point. Now, the third point is that the respondent would never left the hospital if the appellant had not given him assurance. So only because of the reassurance given by the appellant, the respondent had left the hospital. Now, coming to the appellant's arguments, the appellant claims that firstly, fat embolism must have actually started from an earlier period because the patient was brought to him only after 2 days. So it must have started at an earlier period. So that was his first claim. And secondly, the appellant claimed that he had not done any other procedure like placing the leg in the fracture or anything like that. He had done only a preliminary procedure to immobilize the leg. He had not done reduction of fracture. Now, reduction of fracture is the process of placing the broken bones into a set piece. So in order to ensure its proper healing. And the third claim by the appellant is that the appellant claims that because of the previous history of the deceased patient, he was not given general anesthesia. Now, coming to reasoning, first of all, the trial court found that the the appellant doctor had actually used brute force while performing this reduction of fracture, and it was due to this unethical manner. This unethical manner of handling the situation had actually led to a shock to the shock that resulted in fat embolism and eventually leading to death of the patient. And also the trial court also found the appellant guilty of negligence or wrongful act. Now the High Court concluded that the appellant had not done a thorough preliminary examination. The High Court found this by way of the understanding that the claim of the assistant doctor of the appellant that the temperature and pulse of the patient was taken was found to be false. This is because the medical chart never showed temperature. Now coming to this finding of the Supreme Court, firstly the Supreme Court found that the claim of the appellant regarding the reduction of fracture was found to be false. This is because the respondent, being himself a doctor, would have never left the hospital if all procedure had not completed. The respondent doctor left the hospital only because of the assurance or guarantee given by the appellant doctor that all procedure was successfully finished through the operation, and also that the deceased, the son of the respondent, would have come out of the morphine within an hour. It was only this assurance that the respondent actually left the hospital. And secondly, the appellant's claim that the fat embolism had started at an earlier stage, that is 2 days back, had also found to be false. This is because in this particular case, the Supreme Court gave a lot of emphasis to medical works and medical evidence. So on this particular medical, that is a British surgical practitioner, stated that a fracture of a long bone is the most important cause of fat embolism. So when such a fat embolism is actually going to occur, there would be a time period of 12 to 48 hours between its occurrence and its symptoms. So if the appellant's claim is right, then the fat embolism must have started at an earlier stage, and as 2 days had already passed when the patient was brought to appellant's hospital, the appellant would have actually found symptoms of this fat embolism, but this never occurred. So the Supreme Court found the claim of the appellant to be false. And lastly and most importantly, in this particular case, the Supreme Court actually established or placed the concept of or the doctrine of standard of care. Now, as per this principle of standard of care, a person who holds himself out ready to give medical advice and treatment implicitly undertakes that he is possessed of skill and knowledge for the purpose. So thus he has three main duties. Firstly, a duty of care in deciding whether to undertake the case, a duty of care in deciding what treatment to give, or a duty of care in the administration of that treatment. Now, coming to the judgment, the Supreme Court found the findings of the trial court and High Court to be rightly placed and found the appellant to be guilty of negligence and wrongful act causing the death of the patient. Now, this decision of the Supreme Court is rightly placed. They had given emphasis to medical works and medical evidence. So, this decision is a landmark judgment as a lay down the standard of care to be followed by medical practitioners. And also, this duty of care laid down by the Supreme Court of a practitioner starts from the point where the patient impliedly gives consent to be treated by the doctor and where the practitioner accepts the patient for treatment. This is all about my topic. Thank you.